A very good afternoon to all of you. So, I am here presenting you the discussion regarding the firing circuits. How a firing circuit enables the triggering of thyristor. So, before the start of this topic, it is very important to understand the role of a firing circuit. Yes, the firing circuit will enable, the proper conduction of the device along with by following the required constraint of losses in the device. First part. Second part is that a trade-off between the conduction losses and the switching losses can also be achieved by using the firing circuits. Now, so let's have a look at the basic components of a firing circuit. Basically, there are three kinds of firing circuits that we are going to cover. First one is R firing circuit, that is the only resistor firing circuit. The second one is the RC firing circuit. It means, as the name is itself implicating, that in the RC firing circuit, the resistance along with the capacitance will decide the firing of element. And last but not the least, the UJT firing circuit, in which a unijunction transistor will be used for controlling the firing. So let's have a look at the basic topology or the basic circuit. So here is the power circuit diagram of the thyristor. You can easily observe that it consists of a sinusoidal source, that is Vm sine of omega t. The load is connected between the arrangement of firing circuit and the sinusoid source. It is quite observable from this diagram that the load is connected between these two. We can also have a look at the presence of three resistors, R1, R2 and a variable resistor R. So one thing, before proceeding further, we can draw one conclusion, and that one conclusion is that R1 and R2, yes, R1 and R2, these two resistors are there in the circuit, and these are not going to be zero during the entire operation of circuit. So, as there will be conduction, so the losses will be there. So I think the main motive of this lecture that we should understand the losses are incurring while we are going to trigger the thyristor. So we can easily state that this method will cause or incur huge losses for us, because a continuous conduction of current will lead to a loss of energy across R1 and R2. Now have a look at this. The thyristor. The thyristor is connected across R2. So again, by the basic understanding of circuit theory, we can conclude that the voltage occurring across R2, the voltage appearing across R2 will act as the gate terminal voltage. If I am not wrong, for sure this will act as the gate terminal voltage. This will lead to the triggering of thyristor. I think I am quite clear up to this point. Yes, this will cause to the triggering of thyristor, and this will lead to the flow of gate current, that is IG. Now, before proceeding further, 2 to 3 things that has to be the constraint, the governing constraint or the equations of this firing circuit are: first, the gate current has to be between the minimum and the maximum value, first part. The gate voltage, that is VG, has to be between its minimum and maximum value, that it has to be between VG minimum and VG maximum. And the part R1 R1, have a look at this. R1 will limit IG. The gate current will be controlled by the resistance R1. So this R1 will make sure that the gate current doesn't go outside the safe limit of IG max. It remains well inside the maximum gate current limit. I think this is again very much clear. Just by merely controlling R1, we can control the gate current value inside the safe working limit. We can also say that a worst case scenario analysis can be carried out. Yes, this is the worst case scenario, because if we assume that this variable resistance R is made 0, okay, and the resistance R2 somehow gets short circuited, some fault occurs and it is again having a value equals to 0, then we can straight away say that the maximum gate current will be Vm upon R1. Now, coming to the next part, R2. R2 will facilitate the optimal range of gate voltage. The optimal gate voltage range will be decided by R2, because the gate voltage maximum will be Vm. We can simply apply voltage divider rule here. Suppose R is 0. So Vm upon R1 upon R2, and that will be the current in this branch. You can easily observe this thing, and that current multiplied by R2 will give you Vg. That is what we were discussing here, that this is Vm upon R1 plus R2 into R2 the gate voltage. It is quite clear, it is quite evident. Now the limits, the load, as we all are well aware that the load will be in ohms, okay, but R1 and R2 plus R will be in kilo ohms. It means we are assuming that we are going to have very small amount of current flowing in this branch. The current flowing in this branch is very small, and the maximum current will be flowing through the thyristor. I think this is quite clear. That's why we have to keep these resistance very high. If these resistances are very high, then it will be sure for us that all the current will be following this path of thyristor. Okay, clear? Now moving on to the next part. Okay, so now the role of variable resistance is that the variable resistance controls the firing angle. It means by varying the resistance R, we can simply control the firing angle alpha. Vm sin omega t upon R1 plus R, the resistance, as I have already explained to you, that we are simply following the voltage divider circuit. By the voltage divider circuit, we are going to get Vm sin omega t. A sinusoid voltage will be appearing as the gate voltage across the thyristor. I think it is quite easy to understand. Now coming to the gate turn on voltage, you can, if it is assumed to be VGT, then we can conclude that Vm into R2 upon R1 plus R, R2 into sin omega t. This whole term should be equal to VGT. If this is equals to VGT, then we are sure to get the value of alpha. I think it is quite clear. Again, one thing is for sure, that if the value of R will increase, if we are having a high value of variable resistance, then this VGM will decrease. It is going to go down. So we can conclude, or as I can say that the conclusion can be drawn that as we are going to slow down or lower down variable resistance R, then the voltage of VG will increase. So we are going to slow down R, VG is going to increase, it is going to be approach VGT, and we are getting the desired alpha. Okay, so have a look at this. As alpha is sine inverse VGT by VGM, and we can easily conclude that as R increases, VGN decreases. It's evident. Okay, so it is bound to decrease. Okay, and it will be eventually equals to VGT and we are going, because have a look this here, VGN is below, is in the denominator. So when it will decrease, then alpha is sure to get increase. So if we have to increase alpha, we have to decrease this VGN, and for decreasing this VGN, we have to increase the resistance R. So in this way, the whole RC circuit can be correlated. More onto this will be followed up in the next lecture. Thank you.